Okay kids, time to dig it deep into the vault again. This time we got some Mighty Max for you. Now all this did come from my childhood, and it's amazing it stayed in the same condition. So here now, we got a couple of the Doom Zones here. Might have to get those a separate review, but here might as well show them now. But stick with just the horror heads and the shrunken heads for right now. Let's get started, shall we? Now, for those of you who weren't in the 90s in their childhood, Mighty Max and Polly Pocket were made by a company called Bluebird. Yes, it did produce the same series for both. Now, essentially, Mighty Max was the male counterpart to the Polly Pocket and had the same theory. Basically, a place that you can fit in your pocket and take with you. Granted, it was a little bit harder with the Doom Zones, but you could still do it. Or if you had a nice lunchbox or a backpack, anything like that. You get the idea. So now, for this set, we got a Rat Trap and Vampire, and for the horror heads, we've got a Corpus and Skull Warrior. I think the names are amazing. What is inside? Now the big thing about these things is that, yes, you do slide them open, and yes, you do kind of have to unhinge the jaw here. With the shrunken heads, they were kind of very basic, because there's the rat creature there. Here's Max with a, lantern, big-ass knife, and a bit of rope here. But still, there was a little bit of fun to be had, if you're in a hurry and just need something very quick to grab. So here now, as for the vampire, yeah, you can tell something a little weird here, but you open this up, and here we have Max with a bloodied steak, and there we have Vampire there with a rather convenient place to put that steak. Looks a little too low to go into the heart, though, but still, you got the idea. It is a little strange that he's kind of lying in a essentially makeshift grave, but that's kind of how it worked, at least in the storage area. Let's move on, shall we? Okay, moving on to the horror heads here. These were slightly larger play sets. And again, here we have Skull Warrior and Corpus. Rather appropriate considering that this is one of several of the zombie play sets that they came up with for this series. Zombies were a big thing then, zombies are a big thing now. Just no way of escaping it. Anyway, let's open this up. This actually opens up in two parts. Opens up like first half of the face, leaving this, like that. Anyway, you have the little grave digger and his little zombie friend there. Little, but he's the tallest thing in the set. Anyway, we open up this part. Here we do see more of a crypt detail here. And here we have Max with a something. I imagine it's some sort of spray cannon. But yeah, basically the zombie just kind of dwarfs over both of them. Now, granted, it did take a little bit of imagination to play with these sets effectively, but still, you had much more room than the shrunken heads. Of course, as a result, there was quite a bit more pocket space too, but still, they were always travel-sized. And moving on to the gravedigger himself, he looks like a rather jovial, if rather twisted fellow, doesn't he? Okay, moving on to Skull Warrior here. Let's see. Yeah, so when we open this up, we see something somewhat different scene here, with a green cyborg individual. Imagine it would be the Skull Warrior himself. And if we remove this part, which was essentially the cyborg guy, we essentially get this sort of a floating platform that either the Skull Warrior or Max could use. Not together, though. The space limitations just kind of only make one or the other. Now, Max here just has a backpack and a purple hat, as opposed to the red hat with that set. I have noticed that with some of the sets, you can easily tell if they go correctly with a set, depending on the color of Max's hat. As odd an idea as that is, anyway. Now, because this had a flying element to it, it quite a lot less space to make it work. Well, relatively. And let's see here now. Move him and fit max there. Yep, there we go. That worked. Yay. Obviously, these smaller play sets had their advantages. They're easily fit in a pocket, and you obviously had a variety of them. And they're easy to take on the go. But a lot of people would be more familiar with the Doom Zone play sets and the larger play sets. I do have one of the much larger play sets, but that's going to have to wait for its own show because I have to get the accessories, the batteries, and some super glue. I'll cover why a little later. But that wraps up this review for right now. So I'm the Wolf. I remind you all, just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad.